Shri Gurubhyo Namaha children. You are welcome for online class. It is class 10. How are you children? Last class we have seen the first part of the prose lesson, the ethic Satyajit Ray. And today we are going to continue the class children. I hope you all hale and healthy will continue. Yes. Last class we found that Aditya just goes to his hometown, and when he was just going to his place, he found that his house is 200 years old, and his grandparents were Jamindars, and he was not there for 29 years. He had not turned up to the place at all. After his metric 10th standard class got over, he continued his further education in Calcutta, and he was just out of the place. He was just being there in Calcutta, and after 29 years of leaving the place, he just went. And here we found that when he was just traveling in the car, when he thinks of his school, he was disappointed. So we stopped there. Why he was disappointed, we will be continuing in the class. So we left here. When I left our ancestral house 29 years ago, the house was almost 200 years old. The house which they stayed was 200 years old. And recollected Aditya, I doubt if even the school building which may have undergone many changes. So he was thinking about his past school, and he was thinking in his mind how the school will be, whether any changes would have taken place, because 29 years got over. And many changes would have been taken place. Will we be recognizable anymore? So he was thinking that it is possible if we go after 29 years, we can recognize our school building, because there will be many changes undergone that he can identify his school. He was having a doubt in his mind. And trying to revive old childhood memories may prove disappointing. So when he was thinking, when he recollects his childhood, when he recollects his young childhood and school days life, he will be very much worried, because he will be disappointed. So something he had done, so that if he thinks of that, he will be disappointed. So he was thinking, we stopped there children, we will continue the class. Okay. But he said he wished to visit the tea shop of Nagan uncle if it still existed and have a cup of tea there. So we took the turning to the right and decided to drive to Brahmapur, of which Aditya's ancestors were once the Jamindars. So Aditya's parents and forefathers were Jamindars, and he decided to go there. And what for he want to go? But he said he wished. So he was wishing something. What is his wish? He want to have a tea if Nagan uncle's tea shop is there. So it was famous once before 29 years. Whether the tea shop will be available, he doesn't know. So if at all it is there, he want to taste the tea there. If it still existed and have a cup of tea there, so he thinks that he want to have a cup of tea, wish to have a cup of tea in that Nagan uncle's tea cave. So he was having a tea shop, and in that he want to have. So we took the turning to the right. So they took the turning to the right and decided to drive to Brahmapur. So they were driving to Brahmapur, of which Aditya's ancestors were once the Zamindars. So once they were Zamindars. Okay, when did Aditya leave the local school? Will you answer children? When they left, leave the school? So he leave the local school when he was 10th standard. Yeah, matriculation school. When he was studying 10th standard, after his 10th standard higher classes, he went and studied in Calcutta. So till 10th standard he was there in that place. Why did Aditya think that the school would not be recognized? Why he thought that children? Yeah, I am getting the answer from you. Yes, what is mind saying? 29 years got over, whether the thing is be the same or it will be taken place so many changes. So whether he could recognize that school, he was thinking in his mind. It is clear children? Okay, we will go for the next. Aditya's father had left the ancestral home and moved to Calcutta where he had set up his own business after his death. Aditya was looking after it and I was his friend and business partner. So here he was saying Aditya's father had left the ancestral home and moved to Calcutta. So they moved to Calcutta because his father, Aditya's father, had left the ancestral home and moved to Calcutta, where he had set up his own business. In Calcutta he had set up his business, so he left the ancestral place and went to Calcutta. After his death, Aditya was looking after it and I was his friend and business partner. So after his father's death, he was taking care of his looking after it, the business he was looking after, and I was his friend. So he was his friend and business partner. So his friend and he is also a business partner. Okay, it was the month of Maha. So what do you mean by Maha? What is Maha? That is January and February. You know, you have in Tamil month, if you take, you will be saying Adi, Avani, Puratasi, like that you will be having Tamil months, no children. Like that each language will be having their own month. So like that here Maha means it is a month and it is between January and February. The Maha is a month between January and February by the English calendar, In English calendar it will be January and February. In that calendar it is Maha. Okay. So the middle of winter, it is a middle of winter. By my watch it was 3:30. So the time was 3:30 in the afternoon. So by his watch the time was 3:30 in afternoon. The sun was shooting. So you know that sometimes 3:30 it will be having a heavy sun rays and it will be just burning. But here it is not like that. Here it is a shooting. It was a shooting one and they were little comfortable. On either side of the road were paddy fields. So when you know that if you are going for a village, you will be very lovable sceneries you will see. So both the sides will be having a field. The same way on either side of the road were paddy fields as far as the eye could see. So the eyes could see how far they were seeing, fully paddy fields were there and it was so colorful and it was so nice to them. And harvest was over and there had been a good crop that year. So harvest had been taken place. You know what is harvest, children? Harvest is nothing but cutting the paddies. No, after it grows you will be just cutting. Aruvadai will say in Tamil, no, harvest. Harvest was over and there had been a good crop that year. So the crops were nice and it was more, and that year the crops was more and good crop that year. So that year they had a lot of harvest and it was good for them. After about 10 minutes, we came to the local school beyond the iron gates where the playing field and the two storage. So here after the field, a good crop, they were just, the car was moving and they were seeing both the sides of the road. They were having a field, paddy field, and it was just then harvested and more crops were there. And about 10 minutes they were traveling, and when they were traveling 10 minutes they came to the local school. There was a local school, they came to the local school beyond the iron gates. So it was having iron gates where the playing field and a two storage. There was a playing field and a two storage. Okay, school building, we got down from the car and stood in front of the gate. So they just school building, we got down from the car and stood in front of the gate. So they went near the gate and the car stopped. They stopped the car and they got down of it and they were just standing there in front of the gate. Who were Aditya's ancestors? So Aditya's ancestors were zamindars. How does the landscape through which they travelled? The landscape was a lot of fields on both the sides and lot of paddy thing had been grown. What did Aditya visit? What did Aditya visit? They visited a school building. So his old school where he studied, they went and stopped the car in front of the gate and they were just looking at. I asked Aditya whether everything was still the same. He replied that everything had changed. So the narrator was asking Aditya whether everything was same. So what was the answer from Aditya? He was telling that everything is changed. No? Children, see 5 to 10 years itself, there will be lot of changes. Then think of 29 years. 29 years, lot of changes would have taken place. Yeah, he was telling there is lot of changes. He replied that everything had changed. Totally it has changed. Our school used to be one storied. Only one storied means only one building will be there. And a new building has come up which wasn't there. So now the new buildings all came, but before I was studying it was not there. He was giving an answer. Were you not a good student? I asked. So the narrator asked him whether he was a good student while he was studying in the school. And what was the answer? Now if the same question is asked to you, what will be the answer, children? Yeah, everybody will be saying if you are getting good marks, your discipline is good or not, you will be saying that yes, my school days was very good. And few children only honestly accept that, no, I was not like that, I mend my way. So it's yes or no. So here he is a very good person, an honest person. Were you not a good student? I asked. He was saying yes, but my position was always second, he replied. So here I never got first rank in the school when I was studying. Okay. We decided to go and have a tea at Nagan uncle's tea shop, which stood next to the grocery shop and opposite a temple dedicated to Lord Shiva. Soon we caught sight of Nagan's tea cabin written on the signboard over the shop. So you know that they wished to go and have a cup of tea in Nagan's uncle's tea shop. Then they went to the school, and nearby, when they went near opposite to the temple Lord Shiva's, which is dedicated to Lord Shiva, and grocery shop, near the grocery shop and opposite to a temple dedicated to Lord Shiva. Soon we caught the sight. So next to that place they got a sight of Nagan uncle's tea shop, and tea cabin were there written on a signboard over the shop. So it is very clear, yes, but my position was always second. So he says he is not first. So here second, he was always second, not first, he replied. So then who got first rank? We must know who got the first rank. So we decided to go and have a tea at Nagan uncle's tea shop, which stood next to a grocery shop and opposite a temple dedicated to Lord Shiva. Soon we caught sight of Nagan's tea cabin written on a signboard over the shop. Okay. The owner of the tea shop, now over 60, a little rustic in appearance with his white neatly combed hair and clean look, was the same as before. He was wearing a dhoti and a blue striped shirt that could be seen from under a green shawl. So here it is a description about Nagan uncle, how he was. So the owner of the tea shop was Nagan uncle. What is his age? He was 60 years old. And a little rustic in appearance. So you know that rustic means little aged, and appearance, you know that when you are aged you will be not looking that much energetic, isn't it? So you are rustic in appearance with his white neatly combed hair. So he was having a white grey hair and it was neatly combed, and clean look, he was looking very clean and neat, was the same as before. So when he was young also he will be very neatly and he will be neat and clean, and the same he was even in the age of 60. He was wearing a dhoti. So he was wearing a dhoti and a blue striped shirt. So he was wearing a dhoti and a blue striped shirt, and that could be seen under a green shawl. He was wearing a green shawl on the top. So it is seen very clearly. So it is clear, children, the description about Nagan uncle, who is the owner of Nagan tea shop. Okay. Not recognizing Aditya. So Aditya recognized Nagan uncle, but Nagan uncle had not recognized Aditya. He asked us where we had come from. So Nagan uncle is asking you, somebody, a stranger, and where they come from, they had come from, he was asking. And the answer Aditya is giving. What is the place they are coming from? Deodarajin, and Aditya replied, we are on our way to Kolkata. So they were just saying that they are from Kolkata. So he didn't say that he was Aditya. He was just telling the person that he is coming from such place. A little surprised Nagan uncle asked why we were there. So again Nagan uncle is asking, he is not recognized Aditya who he was, and he was again asking what the purpose of their visit there. So a little surprised Nagan uncle asked why they are. So that means he was surprised and asking why they were in that place. To have tea to your shop, said Aditya. Certainly beside tea I have a biscuit and some rice. So what he is saying then? He was saying that we came here to, we was surprised and asking what for you came and what is the work. He says the stranger says that he came to have a tea in his shop. He said that we came here to have a tea from your shop. To have a tea at your shop, said Aditya. Certainly besides tea I have biscuit and savories. So I will be having besides tea I want to have savories and biscuits. So it is clear, children. He didn't say that he was the old student of the school and who used to visit his shop and all. So he is telling that we came to have a tea in that shop. Now if the owner will be having a doubt how they know that there was a shop and all, isn't it? So this was a tea shop, children. You can see the tea shop, and Nagan uncle, he was just making a tea, and here the narrator is sitting and here that person is standing. Who is that? Aditya. Give us 2 namkati each. So namkati is a snacks. Where was Nagan uncle's shop? Will you tell where Nagan uncle's shop is? It is just opposite to Lord Shiva's temple and next to grocery. Yeah, right. We sat on 2 tin chairs. Now you know that in a village side how the tea stall will be and the shop also will be having chair. It will be not like a tea cave where we will be having in city side or town side. So it was a small thing and there is no chairs also to sit. They will be having a tin like that. So we sat on 2 tin chairs. There was only one other customer sitting at a corner table, neither eating nor drinking tea. So neither eating nor drinking tea, but sitting with his head bent as though he were sleeping. So they found that we sat on 2 tin chairs. There was a tin chairs and they were sat on that. There was only one other customer. There is no customer in the tea shop. The narrator and Aditya went and sat. And there was one more who is the customer, neither eating nor drinking tea. He is not eating and he is not drinking, but sitting with his head bent as though he were sleeping. So he was sitting, his head bent, and he was as if sleeping. It looks like he is sleeping. So he was sitting there. So only one customer was there, and that too he was not eating and drinking. He was just like sitting, and as if he is sleeping, it was sitting. Okay. Addressing him as Mr. Senile. So what is the person's name? What is the person's name who is sitting there? Mr. Senile. And Nagan uncle reminded him to go home. So Mr. Senile, his name is Mr. Senile, and Nagan uncle reminded him to go home as it was already 4 p.m. So already it is 4 p.m. It is 4 o'clock. You can go to home. Nagan uncle is telling him. Other customers would soon be coming. Addressing us, he said with a wink in his eye, a little hard of hearing, cannot see well either, but has no money to buy spectacles. So here he was not able to see. Addressing us, he said with a wink in his eyes. Now you can see that in a person who is in 60 years old, he will not able to see properly, and there was a wink in his eye. When his eye was winking, he was not able to see properly, and addressing them, as he said with a wink in his eyes, a little hard of hearing. So he was not able to hear also, cannot see well either, but has no money to buy spectacles. So he was not able to buy a spectacles as he was owning only a tea shop, and there is no there was not much customer to the tea shop. What the money is earning, it is for eating and drinking itself, and he was not able to buy even a spectacle. In 60 years he was not able to see properly, and he was not able to hear properly, but even then he is working as a tea owner of the shop, and he doesn't want to leave, and he was just making tea for others, preparing tea for others. Okay. From his reaction of speech to this speech, I began to wonder whether Mr. Senile was not a little crazy as well. because suddenly he stood up, stretched himself and raising his lean right arm and with eyes dilated began to recite a poem by Tagore, Panraksha, keeping of a promise. Having recited the poem, he left the place making the gesture of namaste with his hands to nobody in particular. So you can understand a person who was there as a customer, and he was, from his reaction to the speech, I begin to wonder whether Mr. Sanail was not a little crazy as well, because suddenly he stood up, stretched himself and raising his lean right arm. So he was, what happened from his reaction to his speech, I begin to wonder. So here when he said that it is time they have to go, I began to wonder. So the author began to wonder whether Mr. Sanail was not a little crazy as well. So Mr. Sanail was not a little crazy as well, because suddenly he stood up. Suddenly he stood up. So when he said that word, he just got from his place and stretched himself. He stretched himself and raising his lean right arm and with eyes dilated began to recite a poem by Tagore. So Tagore's poem he started reciting. So what is the thing? Panakrasha, that means keeping of promise. Having recited the poem, he left the place making the gesture of namaste with his hands to nobody in particular. Actually there is nobody there, but he stood up and he just stretched himself, standing himself, and he was just reciting the poem of Tagore. And then after finishing the recitation of the poem, he was just doing namastakar. Actually nobody was there in that place. So this was something fishy, and he was not able to find what it is and who is it, and he was thinking, Aditya was thinking what had happened. Okay, what did Nagin uncle tell about Sanail? So he was saying that, in what way was Mr. Sanail's behavior strange? So in what way it is strange? He was all of a sudden stood up and he was narrating a poetry, and after narrating the poetry, what had happened? He was doing namaskar. Actually nobody was there and he is walking away. And what did Nagin uncle tell about Sanail? Sanail, he was telling that it is time for him and it is 4 p.m. he have to go. I noticed a sudden change in Aditya's expression and asked him the reason for it. Without answering me, he asked Nagin uncle who the gentleman was and what he did. So the narrator was looking Aditya, so what he was doing, and there was a change in his face and expression, and I asked him the reason. So the narrator was asking him the reason, and he is not bothered about that. He went to Nagin uncle and asking who the gentleman was and what he did. So he was asking who is this gentleman and what he did. So now Nagin uncle is replying. Nagin uncle replied, Shanshank Sanail, what can be done? He leads a cursed life, gone crazy, I think, but has not forgotten any incident of the past. Sold his lands to get his only daughter married. He lost his wife and only son last year. Since then he is somewhat changed, not really normal. Where does he stay? So now he is saying that his name is Shanshank Sanail. So his name is Shanshank Sanail, and what can be done, he was asking. He leads a cursed life. What to do? He is leading a cursed life. He had sold all his field and married his daughter, and last month sold his land to get his only daughter married. He lost his wife as well as his son at the same time, and he is become like this. And since then he is somewhat changed. There was a change in him and not really normal. He is not a really normal person. Where does he stay? So where he is staying? He was asking. Then Aditya was asking where he is staying. He stays with a friend. He stays with his friend of his father's Jogesh Kabiraj. So he stays with a friend of his father's Jogesh Kabiraj. So his father's friend is there and he is staying along with him. Shanshank comes here as tea and biscuit and always remember to pay. Having an acute sense of self-respect, but how long things will remain like this, I don't know. So actually he is not going for a job and he sold everything, no child, even his son and wife also died, and he was staying in somebody's become abnormal person, and he was staying with his father's friend named Josh Kabiraj, and he stays there in his father's friend's house, and he was telling that how days will be going, I don't know, but he'll be coming for my tea shop and he'll be getting tea and biscuits, but he'll be paying the money for it, and such a respectful person he is. So sense of self-respect, but how long things will go, so how long things will remain like this, I don't know. So I don't know how long it will happen. Okay. What did Nagin uncle tell about Sanail's past life? How did Sanail show that he had a sense of self-respect? So Nagin uncle was telling that here Sanail was a very good person. He sold his land field for getting his marriage, daughters married, and after that his wife and son died, and he was become an abnormal person. He was not a normal person, and he is staying with his father's friend named Jogesh Kabiraj. He is just living there. And how did Sanail show that he had a sense of self-respect? How can you tell? Children, how can you tell that they are having a self-respect? Yes, when he goes to the tea shop, he never had a free tea or saying that he will be paying later. He will be giving amount to the tea what he had drank, and he will be just returning from that place. He will be having tea and his biscuit, but he will be paying for it, such that he is a self-respect person. Okay. Having paid a bill and ascended the location of Jogesh Kabiraj's house, we got into the car. Aditya was at the wheel. He expressed the wish to visit his house. So you do want to see your house after all, I said. So the narrator, he was telling to the narrator that he want to see his house. Having paid their bill, so they paid the bill and they inquire the house address of Jogesh Kabiraj, so that they want to go and meet Sanail. And before that Aditya said that he want to go to his home. So here the narrator was asking, oh, you want to see your old house? So he was asking, and he didn't answer anything, he was just moving. It has become essential to do so, Aditya replied. So what was the Aditya's reply? It has become essential, it is very important, I have to go there. And Aditya replied this. His nerves seemed over throughout. So he was very nervous, and it was something was running in his mind, and he was telling it is very emergency that he have to go to home. So he had been taken there to the house. Okay. For some reason, we soon reached the house, which was surrounded by a high walls. Even from the ruins, one could easily imagine how grand it must have been once upon a time. So for some reason we soon reached, he replied. So the narrator also taking him to his house. When they went there, which was surrounded by high walls, the house was surrounded by high walls. Even from the ruins, one could easily imagine, it is a ruin one, nobody was staying in that. Even with that, one can easily imagine how grand it must have been once upon a time. So when it was long ago, once upon a time, how grand that house was, everybody will be knowing if they imagine. So such a house it was. We entered the building, climbed up the stairs and reached the attic on the second floor of the house. This was my favorite room, said Aditya. So we entered the building, climbed up the stairs. So they were going and they were climbing up the stairs and reached the attic. No, they just went and reached the attic. You know what is attic? Yeah, they reached the attic on the second floor of the house. This was my favorite room, said Aditya. The attic has always been a favorite with children. It is in the attic that child seems to be in the world of its own. You know that in young age mostly you will be keeping all your playthings, you know. Mother says you must not take at all. You will be just hiding those things in that attic only. So there will be a place, your playthings and what all the things your parents says is rubbish, don't want inside, that all you will be just going and keeping in the attic, isn't it? So every person will be having something very special in attic. The same way Aditya was also had kept that and he had not taken it. Okay. A portion of the wall of the attic had crumbled down and through the window that had been created, we could see the sky, the fields, a part of the rice mill, the spire of the old temple. In the old house, the attic had probably been the worst hit by wind and weather. The floor was strewn with the twigs and straw and pigeon droppings. Among other things, there was a broken cricket bat, the remains of an armchair, and a wooden packing case. So you know that unwanted things and all will be throwing in the, so in a family what is unwanted thing, that all will be thrown in the attic, and for the same places which all important the children feels, they will be keeping there. So here in the attic was the most damaged place. It had been damaged by the wind, and you know that when there was some hole there, birds used to come and build their nest, and so many stars and pigeon droppings and other things all were there. Among other things, there was a broken cricket bat, the remain of an armchair, and wooden packing case, some wooden packing case or just thrown it on the attic. So it was there. Aditya got on top of the packing case. So when they were seeing near the attic, they were able to see the sky and the top houses and the top of the temple, other parts and all they were able to see. Aditya got on top of the packing case and pushed his hand inside the ventilator. So you just climbed and you just put his hand inside the ventilator. Thus you can see he is putting his hand in the ventilator and thus upsetting a sparrow's nest. He was just disturbing a upset of a sparrow's nest, a part which fell to the ground. However, he heaved a sigh of relief when he had got what he had been looking for. So he was searching, pushing here and there the other things, and he was searching for immediately something, and at last what he was searching he was able to look at. When I asked him what it was, he said, "You will get to know very soon." So he was asking what it was, what you are looking for. He said, "You will get to know very soon. You just wait, you will get to know." Why was the attic a favorite place for the children? Why attic is a favorite place for the children? I said you will be, when your parents saying something that you must not keep, those things will be kept hidden without your parents notice. Yes or no? Some place you will be having, will be keeping your playthings, toys and other things. What did Aditya do on reaching the attic? So when he reached the attic, what he was doing? He was searching something. Whether he got that, we will see. We next went to the jewelers to find out the weight of the article. So they took something, Aditya took something, and immediately they went to a jeweler. The jeweler remarked that it was an antique. Oh, our next stop was the house of Jogesh Kabiraj. Though I was a little curious, I didn't ask Aditya anything. So here next to that where Shashank was living, the place called his father's friend named Jogesh Kabiraj, next to that house was only the jewellery shop, and there they took something and they were asking the rate for that. We entered the house and went to the room where Shashank senile stayed. Shashank uncle was busy reciting verses from Tagore. When he had finished, Aditya asked, "May we come in?" He turned and faced us. So here we entered the house and went to the room. So they went to the house and they entered the house and they were asking whether they can come. So Shashank uncle was busy reciting verses from Tagore. When he had finished, Aditya asked, "May we come in?" So he was asking, "May we come in?" So he turned and faced us. So he turned and faced us when they were asking. No one visits me, he said in an uninterrupted manner. So he was saying that no one visits me, I am all alone. Would you mind if we come in? Come in. So they were asking, would you mind if we come in? Come in. Except for Chapia, there was nothing else to sit on. So we remained standing. So he is saying that, and there was Chapia only, you can sit only in that. So they were not sitting, they were standing. Do you remember Aditya Narayana Chaudhary? Aditya asked him. So Aditya was asking him, do you remember Aditya Narayana Chaudhary? So he was asking. Okay, he was asking him, and let us see what the answer from him. So he is saying, of course, said the gentleman, the spoiled child of affluent parents was a fairly good student but could never beat me. He was extremely jealous of me and he used to tell lies. So very clearly is given, of course, said the gentleman, the spoiled child of affluent parents, it's a spoiled child of affluent parents, was a fairly good student. He was very good student but could never beat me. So he never beat me. So I was the first person to get first mark in my class. He was extremely jealous of me. So he was extremely jealous of me and he used to tell lies. He used to tell lies to his parents that he only got. So he was telling, so I remember very well the Aditya, because all the time I used to get first mark and he will be telling lies. I know, said Aditya. He then took out a packet from his pocket and handing it over to him said, this is for you from Aditya. So now I know, said Aditya. Aditya was saying that I know that what you are saying is right. He then took out a packet, and from his pocket and handing it over to him said, this is for you from Aditya. So this is for you from Aditya. What did the jeweler say about the article? So it is an antique. Okay. Was Senile happy about his visitors? He is not happy. Okay. What is it? He asked. Okay, what is it? He asked. Money. Money. How much money? 150 rupees. He has said that he will be happy if you accept it. So he is saying that it is 150 rupees. He has said that he will be happy if you accept it. So it is 150 rupees. If you accept, I will be happy, Aditya was telling. Shall I laugh or cry? Aditya, he was asking, shall I laugh or cry? Aditya has given me money. Why this sudden generosity? Man does change with time. Perhaps Aditya is not the same Aditya as before. So now Senile is saying, so Aditya has given me money. Why this sudden generosity? Why this generosity? You are not such a good person. Man does change with time. When time changes, man also will change. Perhaps Aditya is not the same Aditya as before. So Aditya was not as before. At change, I got the praise. He could not bear it. He took it from me to show his father and never returned it to me. Said that there was a hole in his pocket and it had fallen through it. So here you know that my friend Aditya was there and I used to get all the first prize. Once I got first prize for reciting a poem. It had been taken by Aditya to show to his father, but he never returned. When I was asking, he used to tell that he had lost it through his pocket somewhere, had fallen through it. This is the prize of the medal, it is yours. So now he is saying, Aditya is saying the packet handing on, this is the prize of the medal. Prize of the medal means he had not returned the medal to him, he had sold the medal and out of it what the amount he got he had just given. It is yours. Shanshan Senile was amazed. He stared at Aditya and said, the price of the medal that could not be more than 5 rupees. It was a silver medal. So he was saying that the price of the medal, it was a silver medal and it is only for 5 rupees it will go. Silver is now 30 times costlier than before. Silver is costlier than, so 10 times costlier than, 30 times costlier than before. So it was costlier now. So it is 30 times before. So you were saying 5 rupees, but now it goes for 150 rupees. Really, I had no news of that. So he is saying that I had no news of that. But Shenshang uncle looked at the 10 rupees notes in his hand and then looked at Aditya. There was completely a new expression on his face. He said, Aditya, this smacks too much of charity, doesn't it? So he was looking. So Shenshang had been looking all the notes 10 rupees notes. Look, the 15 10 rupees notes, 150 rupees. He was having all 10 rupees and he was having 15 notes in his hand, and he was looking in his hand, and then looked at Aditya. There was a completely new expression. So completely there was in his face a new expression was there completely on his face. He said, Aditya, this smacks too much of charity, doesn't it? So it is a too much of charity, doesn't it? We remained silent, peering intently at Aditya. Shashank Senile smiled and said, I had recognized you at Nagan uncle's tea shop by that mole on your right cheek. I could see you had not recognized me, so I recited the same poem that I had recited on the praise giving day on purpose, so that you may remember. Then when you came to visit me, I couldn't help venturing my anger on you. So what he is saying that I've recognized you in the tea shop itself by looking at your face, and there was a mole on your right cheek. On your right cheek there was a mole. With that I have just identified you. That's why I just made recite the same song, recite the poem, so that you can find it out and identify me or recognize me. So I recited the same poem that I had recited on the praise giving day on purpose, so that you may remember and recognize me. Then when you came to visit me, I was angry with you. I couldn't help venture my anger on you. So I got so much anger and I couldn't stop that. You have done the right thing. Your grievances are absolutely justified, but I will be happy if you accept the money, said Aditya. So now he is saying that he says that I have forgotten you. So you have done your part right. You have done the right thing. Your grievance and absolutely gone now, justified, but I will be happy if you accept the money, said Aditya. Aditya was saying that if you accept the money only, I will be happy. Shashank Senile shook his head and said, no money will soon be spent. I would have preferred to have the medal if it were possible. I would have forgotten that unpleasant incident of my childhood if I could get the medal back. So what he is saying, I don't want money. I want the same medal which I have lost. If you are giving that medal, it will be nice thing. If I could get the medal back, it will be, so that unpleasant incident of my childhood will be gone. So the medal that had been hidden in the attic for 29 long years was eventually restored to its owner. So 29 years that medal was lying in his home in the attic, and at last it had been given to him. Streaman Shashank Senile special prize for recitation in 1948 was still clearly engraved on it. So in the medal it was very clearly written, Streaman Shashank Senile special prize for recitation in 1948 was still clearly engraved on it. So it was engraved on it, and he had received that praise and he was very happy. Okay. Okay children, now you understood very clearly the thing. Now you happen to take somebody's pen or pencil and a book or something else very important for them, and if you are not had written to them, so it's a kind advice or suggestion to you, you just go and ask sorry and return whatever the things you are taken like that, if you happen to do like that. So sometimes you will be tempted to do. Just think over 29 years he had just had a prick in his heart, and at last when he saw him, he had returned the thing. That is a great thing that he had done. So he returned at last, at least at last he had returned, and they were ever friend. You know that when he was thinking of school days, he was disappointed. Now when he think of school days, he will be feeling proud that he had made a mistake and he corrected and mended, and he was not have any guilt in his heart. So the moral from the lesson is, you must not steal somebody's thing, or you must not cheat others. You must be honest always. If at all you have done, you correct and mend your way. So that is the lesson from this, and we will complete the lesson. And thank you children. We will see you in the next class.